Hello guys, welcome to this ASP.NET tutorial. So today we are going to learn collection class and validation control. So let's start with collection class. So along with the practical experiment, I'll also explain what an collection class is. So we'll start with the explanation of collection class. Now this collection class is nothing but a data structure that holds data in various different ways. So collection classes are nothing but, you can say, as in storage system which holds our data for some period of time. These collection classes are defined as in part of system.collection or system.collection.generic. Now the system.collection.generic is by default imported. The other one, that is system.collection, is what we have to import to use this collection class. Now there are 6 types of collection class which we are going to learn. So the first one is array list. Now this array list is nothing but an simple list of values where we can add, insert, you can say, delete and view the data. So I'll start with the program of array list. So let me drag one list box. So I'll just increase the size, and here just below that I'll drag or copy buttons. So I've copied the button. Now I'll change the name. Now I'll change it to array list. So now I'll start with the program of array list. Now as I have said, this collection classes basically store some values. So I'll store that, and now here you can see that I have, now this is by default there, and I have imported this system.collection class. Now when I import this, then only this array list I can use it. If I remove this, then array list, you can see it's giving me an error to import. So here you can see it's showing that we have to use this system.collection. So now I'll create an object for this array list. Let's say a list. So equal to new array list. Now in this array list I'll store some values. So a list dot add, and I'll store 2 values. So the first one, let's say some name, so Nitin. Likewise I'll store some values. So I'm storing 4 values. Akash, Palin, and let's say Sandeep. Okay, now I have stored my values. The next thing what I'll do is I will give the data source. So my data source is a list from where I am getting all these values, and last is I'll display it. So for that I'll use data bind. So data bind will help me or help various controls like database or collections to get displayed. So now our program is ready. Let's run and check. So I'll press this button and all our values are getting stored. So our array list is complete. Now we'll move on to the second type of function, that is hash table. Now this hash table is a combination or collection of two things, that is key and value. So we require two things when we are using hash table, that is key and values. And this both key and value are nothing but an object. So it is an object, that is key and value. So we will simply run an program for hash table. So what I'll do is I'll call this hash table first and create an object, let's say ht new hash table. Now ht dot add, I am storing some values. So here we require two things, that is key and then the value. So if we don't specify one of the things, then it won't be accepted, as I have already told that it is a collection of key value pairs which maps key to value. That means this key is mapped to this particular value. So I'll give some value as well. So I'll use some days. So I'm using 4. So 3, 4. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so now next thing what we'll do is we'll give the same thing, that is the data source first. So data source equal to ht. Now we have to do two things, that is we have to assign the key and assign the value to the list box. So that's what I am doing. So data value field equal to my key and the text field where my text are there. So text field equal to value. So it is now mapped. Now I'll simply use data bind to display. So our program is ready. We have stored some values and we are simply displaying it. So hash table is storing our values. So we'll move to the third one, that is stack. Now the stack simply means it represents LIFO, last in first out of objects. Stack follows the operation of push and pop. Push simply means to add some values into this particular, you can say, storage, and pop means to remove those values. So stack returns the last item first. That's how it works. The capacity is automatically increased in stack, or you can say in this system. So I'll drag one button. Let's run this program and check. So the third one is stack. So I'll change the name, stack, and I'll paste some buttons. There is 4th, 5th, and we have 6 types, so I am pasting all 6 buttons. Now we are into stack. So let's run a program for stack. Now I'll create one object, let's say st to new, stack. Now let's check. Okay, the capital letters. Okay, so I'll stack, that is st. Now here we'll push the objects, that is how we enter the values. So I'll store some values. So let's store some names again. So I'll be storing 2 values only. Now I'll use the data source and I'll bind it to display. So it's done. Now let's run other programs as well, then we'll check it. So the next one is queue. Now this queue works with FIFO system, that is first in and first out collection of objects. So here we can add items using something known as enqueue, and we can remove using dequeue in queue. So queue accepts null reference as a valid value and allows duplicate element as well. So that is there in queue. So I'll just change the button name. I'll double click and we will implement this queue. So let's say queue equal to new queue. Now we will push the, we will enqueue the elements. So I'll enqueue, that means I am inserting. So I'll insert let's say 2 days, Friday and let's say Saturday. So I'll simply find the data source and data bind it and change the name, object name. So our queue program that is also done. So we'll move to the next one, next collection type, that is string. Now this array. So now this array, as we know that this array are used for storing similar data types. So we can access this array elements by something known as index, and the index starts from 0. So let's say if we have 3 values, then the index will start from 0, 1 and till 2. So let's create an array. So I'll use string and created the object as ARR. So here I am giving the index as 3. That means it will store value in starting from 0 to 2. So I'll start with 0. I'll put some value. So likewise 1 and 2. So I'll put some names. Let's say car, bike, truck. So I have stored some values inside array. Now the same thing, I'll use data source and data bind. So I'll change the object name. So our array program is also done. Now the last and the sixth one is list. Now this list basically represents or strongly type list of objects which can be accessed same like array, that is by index. Now here in this list what we can do is we can add some items in between as well. Now this elements in this list can be accessed using some integer index. We can access those elements from in between using index. We can put some values in between using that index. So this can be done in list. So let's change the name and see one program for list. So here this is my last one. So I'll create one list. So of type string. Now I'll give the name as months equal to new list, and then I'll simply my object is created. Now I'll add some months out here. So I'll add few months, let's say January, February, March, March and April. So I have added 4 months. Now here we'll set the same things, that is data source, and we'll bind it. So I'll change this name to months. Now as I said, first we'll run this program and then I'll show some of the things which we can do in list. That is, we can insert some values using that index, and we can simply remove some values as well. So first we'll check other programs, then we'll run this. So let's check list, it's storing, array it's storing, queue is storing, and stack is storing. So hash table and array list already we have checked. Now as I was talking about list, so let's add one value in between somewhere. So as we know, it also works with index. So this is the 0th index, 1st index. So let's add something between the 2nd index, that is March. So I'll add months dot insert. Now I'll give the index, so that is 2, and I'll give the value what I want to insert. So I want to insert December. So let's run this and see if this particular item is inserted or not. So here you can see at the 2nd index it has been inserted, 0, 1 and 2. So that is the thing we can do, and let's remove one value. So I'll remove this March. Now let's check So here you can see March is not there after December, which I have inserted. April is coming, so March is not there. So with this our ASP.NET collection class program is done.